Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Lindsay Kreitzer. I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at Equilibria, and today I am with some of my favorite people. We are going to be chatting with the co-founders of both Equilibria and Fleur Marche on the recent acquisition that everyone is just so excited about. Before we get started, can everyone please introduce yourself and just share a little bit about what drew you to women's wellness? Let's start with Coco.
I'm so freaking excited to have this group together. My personal journey to women's wellness, it's been the story of my career, really. I started out on more of the beauty side of things at L'Oreal in New York and then in Paris. And then when I went to go get my MBA, I became obsessed with the idea that women needed a better way to access self-care. And so I built an app called Pretty Quick, which is all about helping women book and access high quality beauty appointments. Sold that company. I'm an active investor in Women and Consumer, many of which are beauty, wellness, health brands. And when I met up with my good friend, Marcy, who's one of the smartest people I know, and she told me about her experience with a high quality CBD and her journey to health, I fell like madly in love again with the promise of helping more women through Equilibria. And I know everyone around here has been on a similar arc and journey with just the power of cannabinoids and other functional and botanical ingredients. So the fact that we're all one family now is just thrilling. So come.
That's great.
I'll go next. Lindsay.
Yeah.
So prompt is what drew us to wellness, right? So hi everyone, I'm Marcy. I'm the co-founder and chief product officer here at Equilibria. One of my favorite commercial mission principles is Mila's Ima Besa, which stands for Forever Better. And I just think that everything that's happening in the world can constantly, we can always do better. And so looking at the state of healthcare and what it was like to be a woman at the time when I was first getting into CBD in 2017, I just kept saying oh my God, there has got to be a better way. This is the thing that I say a lot as a product developer. And so having kind of, when I've spent a lot of time in it and did a lot of research, and it was just really clear that there was a great opportunity to do better, that there were women who wanted to feel better. And in fact, there were women that were being very ignored. Like I often say, when was the last time you talked to your grandmother about her mental health, right? And those kinds of conversations. And that's the thing that gets me out of bed every day and why I'm in the Equilibria universe.
That's amazing. I can certainly see why you guys had such a powerful attraction, both from a business perspective and as friends. I think Fleur Marche team would love to hear a little bit more from you guys. Ashley, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, happy to. Hi guys, I'm Ashley Lewis, the co-founder of Fleur Marche, and I guess similar in both ways to what Coco and Marcy said. My career started in the film industry, which is only to say that it was really sort of about storytelling. I then left to get my MBA, and after that worked for Barbie, and then ClassPass, and then Goop, and then founded Fleur Marche. And I think the through line of those experiences really was the idea of trying as a marketer and sort of builder of things, how to tell a more authentic story, right? As you're trying to sell people products, how are you selling them products and services that they care about and that actually can affect their lives in meaningful ways? And then how do you sort of connect with them and figure out what makes them tick? As I developed through my career, that ended up becoming wellness. So funny enough, with Barbie was the first time that I ever was working on a female focused brand and really starting to understand how women beyond myself heard and processed information and thought about purchasing decisions. And then moving on to ClassPass and Goop, which are both more sort of firmly rooted in the wellness space, understanding how connecting the right customer with the right product could really have a meaningful, lasting impact on their lives, was sort of, my drug of choice. And so once Meredith and I decided to start our own company, that was, I think, really personally for me, the driving factor was can we tell a better story to help women find products that actually will help them? And that's how we landed here.
Yes, so I share obviously similarities with everyone here, but I as early as I can really remember, like my mom is the first one that exposed me to sort of like varied holistic wellness approaches and solutions. And so I think I was exposed to it like pretty early in my life. And so I always gravitated toward interesting sort of experimental solutions. I was lucky enough to go to Goop to work. I headed up, interestingly, the fashion division, but was obviously exposed to everything that was going on in the universe of Goop, which was an incredible place. So lucky to have been there and spent so much time there. But so that really exposed me to a lot. I really understood the customer. I really understood the need to Ashley's point, sort of like speak to her in a way that was really relevant to her life. I really started experimenting with cannabis in like sort of like this new wave way in 2017. I came to it again, this time in a much different way than I probably had experienced it in high school. And I realized that it was such a valuable wellness solution for me, and I adopted it in many ways into my life and into my routine. So I became really passionate about the category, both CBD and THC. It had really profound effects on my wellness. So I wanted to share that with my community. And I was really inspired to lift the concept up off the ground for Fleur Marche and really spread the good word about the benefits of this category to women who don't yet understand it. So I think we had a unique way of being able to approach the conversation in a relevant way that reached women like me who didn't yet understand how to use cannabis in 2017. So yeah, that's how I came to it.
I look around at all of us and I just think like, as you all have just heard, there's so many shared stories, but each and every one of us personally recognizes that CBD, other cannabinoids, and other plant-based functional wellness is, essential to our own well-being and helping us thrive. And then each and every one of us realizes there are so many questions, and Fleur Marche and Equilibria from the beginning have been about like demystifying and democratizing the space, which is scary, confusing, new, so many more questions than answers. So it's just so incredible, again, to all be one family now and to align those missions.
That's amazing to hear how these synergies are so authentic and permeate both brands in a way that I think it's going to be very exciting to see what these brands are going to do together in the future. Thank you guys so much for the introductions and Fleur Marche team. I think I would love to hear from you guys. What initially drew you to EQ as a potential strategic partner to go through this next step with in your business?
I think we, had obviously been aware of the EQ business from the get. We launched around the same time. We have sort of connections in common, and so we were always really aware of what EQ was doing, especially given that it was markedly different from our business model. So a lot of the subscription, thinking about specific products versus what Fleur Marche started as, which was a marketplace. And so always just really impressed with what EQ was building, the ties to the farm, the emphasis on quality and education. Those were the through lines that really connected with us, because even though we were a marketplace, that's specifically what we were trying to bring out in the industry. And I think for better and worse, in 2019, when the CBD industry exploded, there were a lot of players in the market, most of whom didn't care about standards and quality. And so EQ was always just really at the forefront of our minds as a best-in-class brand. So then when we decided to shift our own business model and become a brand ourselves, I think a lot of what we saw EQ doing was inspirational for us and was a benchmark for what quality standard should be. And so that was my first, that's just my sort of like, that was in my head the entire time we've been operational. And when we then had the opportunity to start having deeper conversations about becoming one, that was for me also the leading motivation. Whenever you're merging your company with another, feeling comfortable with like the integrity, the authenticity, and the originality of whoever you're working with is just the most important thing. It's your baby. And that was never something I questioned about EQ, which for me was really like at the bottom of my heart was like, this is the right thing.
Yeah. And just piggybacking off of that, I mean, Ashley said it so eloquently, but to me, what drew me was truly how amazing their products were, or are. Their obsession with quality, standards, efficacy is very important, and it really resonates with me. And their products are awesome. So that was one. I loved their founding story. I love specifically Marcy. Coco, you know I love you, but specifically Marcy's story is something that really resonated with me. So I knew that her mission-based approach, both of everyone's mission-based approach at EQ, was going to be a through point for the development of the brand and the evolution of what this will look like. So I think that's so important and something that I really identified with. And then lastly, just the community, I think is really impressive that EQ has been able to foster throughout the last couple of years, through a couple short years, by the way, but a really impressive cult following community that I just was super impressed by. So, yeah.
It's great. It's great to hear that a lot of what drew you to the brand are core to your brand and are going to remain central to the business. And I think on that note, Coco, can you talk about, is anything changing about these two brands with this new announcement?
With pleasure. We're just so happy they said yes. Because, you know, when we look at the short answer is no. We are so pleased with this corporate announcement and this acquisition, because what we see, what Ashley and Meredith and their team have built is just incredibly complementary to Equilibria. When we look at Fleur Marche, we see a brand that speaks to the hearts and minds of a younger customer, a customer who's, you know, it's certainly, you know, it's a highly efficacious, very innovative delivery method. Their patches, but just it's playful. It jumps off the shelf. It was really built for this Gen Z customer in mind, and sort of helping her know that self-care is something that can be easy. It can be as easy as putting a patch on your arm, and you can find it at checkout at your favorite, you know, at your favorite XYZ retailer, right? So when we looked at Fleur Marche, we were just so impressed with their distribution, their retail distribution. I mean, they're really creating a lasting and kind of game-changing brand for the younger customer and they're finding her where she is, which is largely in bricks and mortar. You look at Equilibria and what we've done from the very beginning, you know, again, all of us have talked about demystifying and democratizing and educating, just like holding a hand for a woman who has questions and isn't feeling okay. And by the way, it's okay to not feel okay, right? And we are all committed to that. So at Equilibria, we have this coaching service. We are our member educators. We have a team nationwide of experts who are literally there for you to talk with on the phone or on DM or on email, but to talk with and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. And so we'll help personalize a routine for you that will meet your health goals. And so we really flourish with our DTC model and want to continue to develop that lasting relationship with this member over time. So I love the complementarity. You know, when we look at, you know, this portfolio of brands, we've got 18 to 80. We've got very progressive plant-based formulas. Ashley and Meredith are exquisite, really product development and brand talent. So we're really excited to be pushing the envelope more on efficacy and formulation together. But channel and brand purpose will stay exactly as it is today.
I'm sure that's wonderful to hear for everyone who is in love with both brands. Excuse my dog in the background. Marcy, can you talk to me a little bit about, he's running to his new owners. Sorry.
It's the postman.
Marcy, can you talk to us a little bit, coming from your tech background specifically? I think the notion of a Fempire is something that's really special and could be celebrated. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what this idea of a Fempire is to you, and then would love to hear from the rest of the team?
Oh gosh, my version of it's not quite as exciting, because when you're coming from tech, you're coming from a place where there's never enough women. You know, like I would often in my or be the only woman in the room, the auditorium, the whatever, right? And so creating a Fempire became incredibly important to make sure that women are represented in technology. And then, you know, from a consumer psychology, et cetera, the product side of my brain, like making sure that we're represented in what exists out there for us, and making sure that our problems are being solved. And so, you know, uniting forces, of course, being like the exciting part about creating a Fempire, but like how can, you know, we're big fans of what we call like the entourage effect here at Equilibria, which is, you know, a thing from cannabis, in amplification, how like 1 + 1 can equal 3 instead of 2, right? And I think a lot of that is Fempire-ness for me. Like you put enough women in the room and the exponential aspect of it is just insane.
I'll add one more thing and then I'll turn it over to you all just very quickly. I mean, everything that Marcy said about amplification, about you know, just why do only 1% of female founded and female run businesses get to $1 million of revenue? Why does only 3% of venture capital dollars go to women? Why, when I was starting my first company, I had to go around and I literally find a female developer until I met Marcy, who cared about the fact that there was a $70 billion industry out there that served women that nobody was addressing from a tech standpoint. So we have to, that's what Fempire means to me, is putting more women. The majority, we just got out of a board meeting and the majority of our board are women. The majority of our cap table are women. This is the leadership team, you know, of the Fempire. So, and then, so one more aspect, in addition to all of that is that in the Fempire, and with everyone you see on this call, when one of us says, school's calling, I gotta go, or like I'm doing drop off today, or I'm gonna just not be online because I'm gonna go to T-ball practice, that is important. And we all recognize that and nurture that and honor that. Balance is our #1 core value at Equilibria, not products. That balance is what we give women through nutraceutical formulations, but also because as women, like work and life are super integrated and we're here to kick butt, make money for our investors and capture real market share, all in the service of mission. But we're also here to be moms and to be sisters and to be wives or whatever, friends, like have full lives. So I think being a Fempire is kind of trying to show the market how that's done.
I have nothing to add.
I
can't follow that. I can't follow that.
So I completely agree. The only thing I would add, and it's piggybacking the mom, but it's that talking about sort of like the business aspect first. When we went out to raise, and I'm certain that Coco and Marcy experiences as well, whenever you say that you are building a company for women, whether it's by women or not, but usually you get the inevitable question from investors, well, why would you cut off 50% of the population? And, you know, have to sort of back up and defend yourself for why you would do that. And I think, one, it's a frustrating question for reasons we all understand, but two, it's the wrong question. Women deal with health and wellness issues that are different from those that men deal with. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the second someone wants to build a male-focused wellness company, more power to them, and I support it. We're building products for generations of women who, as Coco put it, are dealing with different things. And that's not just physically, menstruation and then the end of menstruation, for example, but also that we are moms and that we are, in addition to being CEOs and professionals at work, we're also oftentimes running our households and having to deal, we are the first call when someone is sick at school, and we are the ones who are expected to take off work, when there's some activity that no one else can get your kid to. So, and I think that then leads to more, you are more tired, you are more prone to getting sick, you are really more in need of support. And as Coco said, it's okay to not feel okay, but we want to make sure that given everything women have to deal with, there are viable, accessible, effective, interesting solutions that can help you get as close to you can as to doing everything you have to do. And I hate to say doing it all, because I don't think that is possible, but there is still a lot that you have to do, even if it's not graceful, even if it's not perfect. We want to focus our efforts uniquely as the Fempire on solving that problem for women. And the problem being that there's so much to do, there's not enough time, there's not enough sleep, and we get that in a way that I think others don't. Anyone outside of the not anyone outside of the fraternity doesn't get, but I think that like that is going to be our express mission, which is a really unique thing in the market these days.
But like women, different needs, as Ashley was saying, but also like we heal differently, we learn different. And so, you know, one of the things, because of course, Coco and I were always hearing the, why aren't you doing this for everyone? And I personally, as a product person and trying to please everyone, you please no one, first of all. Second of all, I use the example of our dosage support service. The way that women talk and synthesize their problem, fundamentally psychologically different than the way that a man thinks about, synthesizes, etc., his problems. The type of dosage specialist he might need is actually probably very different than the kind of conversation that we're having right now. And it's not just because we're talking about uteruses or something, right? It's actually more than that. Think about when you're trying to get your husband to talk about his emotions, right? That is a great example of like how different it is. And we have to take that into account with companies that we build, with products that we're, you know, the ecosystem and everything that we're doing right now. I want to take just one quick second because we heard that there was a LinkedIn comment had come in while we're all chatting from an Anya Jablanowski, just doing a little shout out from the early Genevieve Tears salon days from EQ. So we just wanted to acknowledge and say hi. Thank you for watching, and we love when people are coming to the early salons that are still here with us now.
So much support along the way. Thank you so much.
I think this is such interesting conversation. And Ashley and Meredith, I love that what I have read about your origin story is that you guys felt really passionate about hearing more of your friends stop answering how their day is going with meh. And I think taking meh as the baseline and building an entire Fempire on giving women better than meh is so powerful. And I think that from 18 to 80, like there really is sort of a universal nature of what women are facing that is unique to them, and that I can see how easily both these brands are positioned to take care of those needs for just a whole host of women. So I really appreciate you guys sharing all of your thoughts today. As we are wrapping up, are there anything, any other thoughts that you guys would like to share about our acquisition or just the exciting future that both of these brands have in store?
I think we've covered so much. I'll just say to our LinkedIn community, and you know that we really are here because of in service of women and in service of mission. And so, you know, just as the Fempire and as two brands dedicated in our own ways to improving the lives of women, like speak up. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you about partnerships. We'd love to hear from you about unique formulations. We'd love to hear from you about education opportunities and ways to reach more of your audience. So we are, you know, a well-oiled machine seeking collaboration and growth, and we're not stopping anytime soon. So speak up, reach out, get to know us. We would love to hear from you.
I'm going to put it better.
I was just going to say, on the Fleur Marche side, we're just so excited and energized by this, by just sort of like the meeting of the minds here. And we have so much exciting stuff coming. So please make sure to stay tuned. It will be an evolution of our products too. So we're super pumped with what's in store for us later this year. So please make sure to follow along. Now that we have such amazing support with the EQ team, we can do kind of like really amazing things together. So please stay tuned.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Lindsay.
So much. Of course. Thank you, all of our LinkedIn community members. Thank you to Meredith, Ashley, Coco, and Marcy. It is fantastic to hear from such enterprising women getting out there and bringing their whole selves to business ventures. It's really important, and it's going to be just absolutely exhilarating seeing where the business goes. Thank you guys all for your time today, and we cannot wait to talk to you again in the near future.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Bye, y'all. Bye, everyone.